usually live, then I'll share it on my platform.
Yeah, 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 it should be live now, but let's see. So there's another, so I just have, what the heck? Yeah, here we go. Okay, so it's coming in. Looks like we're online on everything. I'm just gonna play a little intro and double check.
Yeah, go for it.
How's it going, everybody? We got Franco in the house. We were just having a chit chat. We're both kind of like running on fumes here, I feel. I think, yeah, I was a little bit off. I'm not feeling bad. I'm just feel like I just came off a space, what is it? The International Space Station. And I need to decompress, and Franco seems to be in similar shape. It's good to see you, though, Franco.
Well, it's good to see you too. It's really great to get together again. It's been a
I
little while.
know we got lost in the transition there, our transition over here. Just a quick reminder to everybody, we are on 5 platforms. We can see all your comments on the 4 Facebook pages. And Franco, that storm just came over here. And we can see your comments if you have any questions. We don't usually do a lot of questions, but with Franco, there's always an exception because people have questions for him. Thank you for your continued love and support and contributions to keep this going every day. And I would reiterate to everybody Franco's series that he's doing, him and Kimberly. They're up to about 40 episodes now. He said he's doing them once a week. We'll talk about it a little bit later. But other than that, and it is good to get back with Franco. And today is a powerful day. Somebody mentioned earlier, and tomorrow I think it's going to be a very powerful day. We've got a really strong lineup of strong women tomorrow. That one of them being Pamela Johnson, who's actually here, who I've been chasing for 3 years, and she's always been a big supporter. So she's coming on to start the day. Mary Rodwell's going to end the day, and we got a couple of strong ones in between. But today it's Franco, and Delia Flores pops the first question: what's the theme coming up for September?
Well, we're until about the middle of September. At this point in time, it's still integration, which is what we're doing right now. We do have another theme coming into September. I don't have, actually, it was shared with me about a week ago, and it's totally blank. So if it comes back to me, we'll share it. I haven't been, it didn't give me the specifics saying, yes, go ahead and share it. But so I was going to share it anyways, but
you can't remember it.
I can't remember it right at this moment, but
that's okay. That's okay. And I think that's part of this. Because we haven't talked in probably 6 weeks, but it's part of the integration. I think it has a lot to do with the body, a lot of the fuzziness that's going on in the head. I've had people recently telling me they're having, they think they have COVID. They're having severe body aches. I've had them. There's been a lot of purging. And I think this stuff you did tell us was all going to happen. I couldn't remember if you said it was ending in the middle of August or the middle of September. Now I just found out we've got another 3 weeks of this. So, Yeah.
Yeah, it's the thing is right now. I mean, the energies that are coming in is one thing, and then that's pretty powerful. But there's a lot of transformation going on right now. So really, the main thing here is for us to shift away from the fact of expecting other things to play out for us to create a shift within ourselves. As you know, there's so much going on right now. And I know in the United States and other countries, there's a lot of political stuff playing out at this point in time because, it's coming up to elections time in the US. I mean, here in Canada, whatever happens in the US kind of affects us to some degree, even though we have a different system. But we're also having a lot of things coming to the surface, meaning that there's a lot of things that have been hidden from the different role players that have played out on the planet. The media, from social media to your mainstream media, there's a powerful dance going on, and it's playing out one way or another at this point in time and creating a lot of restrictions, in a sense, for us, in feeling that we are even more compressed and that we have to stimulate all this fear. Because right now there's a lot of fear, a lot of concerns and so forth. And I'm talking about it collectively as a cluster. I'm not talking about it in different, because certain areas are even more powerful than other areas, depending where you're located. Individually, depending on the state that you are in, meaning how more are you connected with yourself and you've eliminated more of those default operating systems, you're not going to feel that. You're actually going to feel kind of watching the dance of everything kind of breaking down. See, the reliance right now of people depending on who's the outcome for the election, who's the outcome for what's going to happen, or who's going to, change all of these things here. That's kind of being programmed for us to believe that, but it's not really about that, because you have to understand this is just a dance. It's really for us to go into that empowered state. And what is that empowered state meaning? Is that you're not using your own reference. And this is the main thing that I'm going to be talking about tomorrow's episode. It's about what is shaping your reality, and the main part of this is for us now to use our own inner guidance more than ever to design our own personal reality and how we start to experience the external reality. Because what happens at this point is that there's so many different inputs coming in that it can cause confusion. And it is causing confusion for a lot of people because it's also bringing up depression and sadness and feeling hopelessness and whatever else. But that's only part of the process, like you were saying earlier, Todd, to kind of purge all of that. Mm-hmm. And I know we've been using dream state. I know we've been using a lot of other in our lives and so forth. However, things have just continued to step up further and further and further. I mean, we have another, change happening around starting from the 17th on from September. And again, a reliance of self-governance, self-direction. Like what I'm talking about is like using your own discernment, because right now, no matter what platform you're on, coming from mainstream or from the alternative stuff or whatever it is, or if you're talking about social media, whatever it is, you're going to have a lot of conflicting. And that's actually has a perfection to it, because the conflicting that's going on is actually stimulating us to say, I'm going to let this go and I'm going to step into my own self-governance, going into within ourselves. And that's the purpose. Now, as we're doing that, this is the thing that, Todd, that you probably experienced, and I probably heard from others too, I'm not sure. But as you're going within, a lot of times what happens is that we have a lot of physical fears and trauma and whatever else that we've locked into our body. And so as we're going into focus, we're focusing in our heart, even though we're tapping into our soul. What happens is that as we're going into that, a lot of this programmed trauma and memories from the body tend to come up. And you may feel almost like a fear, an anger, a judgment, whatever may come up for you. But to realize that not to be concerned about how you feel, just keep going into the heart, because that what you're doing is you're entering layers. As you're entering the layers, you're going to find these layers, these filters of past harms and fears and whatever else may have played out. But the moment you're tapping into it, you're illuminating it, and guess what? It starts to break down those veils, those filters, and so forth. So this is where, just keep going into the heart and going into, I don't like to use the word trust, but going into a knowing state. So you're going into yourself knowing that you are the ultimate designer here. This is the thing. A lot of people are putting a lot of focus on what's going to happen because of what is happening around us in the world. Okay? Well, that is in a way distraction, but at the same time, it's a stimulator for us to say, okay, it doesn't matter what the dance is. I am not, and this is key, I am not governed, or I'm not controlled, or nothing has power over me. The thing is, we give permission, we allow the outside world and whatever it's reflecting to direct us, to shape us, to make us respond a certain way, make us feel a certain way, and so forth. And that's great. But the thing is, if you look at it, Todd, the amount of streaming that's coming in from all levels here, and you're basically, if you're paying attention to it and you're allowing always your external world to dictate how you feel, you're going to notice that you're going to be here, 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 here. You're moving all over the place because you don't know where your attention is going to go and what is real. And this is the key, is you get to a point where I don't trust any part of it.
Yeah,
okay?
That's right.
And
That's right.
That's instrumental, because the thing is, as long as you're putting trust on something outside of you, then you're basically disconnecting your own capacities and capabilities. So this is what part of this is going on right now, is to stimulate that in such a powerful way so that we do connect with ourselves. And this is why the theme of integration has been so powerful, is to integrate all the stuff that's playing out, but also to integrate within ourselves. Now, you have to understand all of these portals that are opening up, all these energy channels that are pouring in, a lot of these, energies that are coming in from the center of our earth and so forth, are kind of all playing out to break down these layers and layers and layers that we have of ourselves, and also to expose this whole game that we're playing, because it is a game. It's completely a game, and it's perfect because that's what we're doing. We're playing the game, but we forget that part of it. So this comes to a point where, and I'm sure you've gone through it so many times, Todd, when you see all the stuff that's going on, you go, okay, it's just a game, whatever it is, I'm going to play them out. But then as you're doing that, that becomes very, very powerful for you, for that self-empowered, and you become more integrated to you. Okay. And now all of this is not about creating more separation, because a lot of us, what happens is, to people, we tend to want to shift away from, for example, from the body, from what people refer to the 3D part, and that's only go to the heart. Well, you got a mind, you have a human entity, you have a body. Each one has a powerful innate consciousness. Each one contributes, and each one is evolving. Each one is becoming a grander aspect of itself. So you're basically turning up and turning on a lot of the dormant parts of ourselves. So it's about using your inner guidance, but you can also communicate with your body. You communicate with your human entity, because it has a lot of experience in the human game. And you also communicate with your soul, but also using the mind as a powerful computer that it is. And it has capacities to do amazing things, because once you're in, and I'm not talking about getting into your head thing, but the mind is a powerful tool that actually creates this reality. Without the mind, you can't see anything except for a field of energy. Nothing exists without the mind's interpretation of energy. This is why we're referred to as holographic expressions, holographic streams, right? So it encrypts. decrypt. I can't even say
Yeah, don't worry. Oh,
it's
somebody
the
put
code,
encrypting. Somebody wrote
encrypting
encrypting,
or
right?
decrypting,
Right.
whatever it is. Anyways, it's like us, our computers have all these digits and codes and whatever else, and then you use a software and you can now see a picture, or you can see words, or you can hear sound or whatever. So that's what's happening. So when you're looking at all of this that's playing out at the moment, it's utilizing every part of it. Now, of course, people are, like you were saying, people are going to feel certain powerful sensations in the body. They may feel sick. They may feel that they may have restrictions in breathing.
Mm-hmm.
That is part of the purging that's going on, because what's happening, and I'm not saying not to get it checked if you feel that there's something going on, but not to go in with fear. Just say, okay, I just want to determine this. But you can talk to the body. You can say, hey, body, can you kind of share with me? Don't say what's going on. Say, what would you like to say to me? What is taking place that I have a better understanding so we can work together? Always bring so we can work together, because that brings everybody in alignment so that we do this together. Because we're not promoting separation. Because the first part, when I talked about separations from years ago, is the first level of separation was not only separating ourselves from others, the planet, the sentient beings, and so on, but we separated and fragmented ourselves.
Yeah, exactly.
So here we are, the mind going on its own. You got a soul doing its thing. The human entity is doing
Body.
something else. The body's doing something else.
So if now that I've heard what you've said and was aligning with it, I guess if we're connecting, and all this weird stuff's happening over here, which has got to be your team, because my team doesn't do that. But so to me, it's like this period of 2.5 months that ends in the middle of September. Uh, I think a better word for it now for me is alignment instead of integration, because the integration, I thought, oh, the body's going to go through this and this is going to happen. But now I can see what's really happening, because there is one mind or one voice forming, and that is starts with the human aspects or the human layers, like you said. The human entity, the body, the mind. I mean, the heart. It starts there, because if you're separated there, you're going to be separated everywhere else. So I've noticed something really interesting going on, and I love your explanation about, well, it's being shown, so it'll be released. Basically, it's coming up, and this is I can see where a lot of people have had pains and stuff because of the stuff that's stored in their body. But what I was getting at is I've never seen the level of polarity in the lightworker community that we're seeing now, where you have people that have been out there for quite some time, literally taking shots at other people, very openly, and not just, I'm not shocked, like, oh my God, what's wrong with these people? It's not like that. I see it as a great gift to be able to observe it, and then again take it back into myself and go, okay, am I doing this? Am I doing that? But to me, I feel this huge sense of alignment, and drinking a lot of water and paying attention to my body. I'm not going through the discomfort I was 30 days ago. Not that it was horrible, but I mean, in comparison to my own experience. But listening to everybody doing these shows every day, there seems to be a lot of common experiences that are happening, which does have to do with the body. It does have to do with stuff coming up, and it does have to do with some projection and many or small moments of the dark night of the soul, whatever you want to call it. But I've seen a lot of positive stuff. I really am, which makes me curious and intrigued in terms of what's coming up on September 15th, 16th, 17th. And the last thing is, I mentioned Pamela Johnson a minute ago. Morgan and I are headed out, I believe, on the 16th or 17th. And I just saw her post something. I know she's connected, and she said something about 555 September 17th. So something, and even based on your intel, something was occur or begins a new phase, a new theme or whatever is going to start on or around the middle of September. So I'm anxious to see what that is. I hope you get the memory recall while we're on the show.
Well, I think you triggered it when you're talking about alignment. So it's really in the sense of all of us coming together right now, because it's instrumental at this point. So starting from the 17th on till the end of the year, really. Uh, and of course, we have several days, so there's going to be that other stage coming into place. But it's all about us getting together, connecting from a point where we are be able to, how can I say, to kind of work together to design it. Now, what's happening with the so-called, what you just said about, light workers and whatever else, spiritual people, whatever, going against each other, whatever it is, they're doing that in a way to kind of clear out a lot of this other stuff that they have, because just because you're able to have a deeper understanding for us in the sense on a personal basis, saying, oh, okay, now I'm light bearer, or, I'm awoke or whatever, right? Well, what happens is you're put to the test, and the testing is you testing yourself and saying, okay, well, if you are all what you think you are, because the ego will like to project that, then we're going to put you to the test. And the test is really just to kind of refine you. So we're going to allow you to see that you have judgment still, that you still compare, that you still want to be righteous, that you want to do this or that, whatever it is, or that somebody is right and somebody's wrong. It's going to show all of that stuff playing out. Now, even going into the 17th on, there's going to be a rollout of another option that's going to roll out saying, hey, this thing that we've been playing since the beginning of the year? Well, we're going to throw it in your face again. We're going to show you that we want to push that agenda. And then it's really, really for us to say, hey, we're not going there. So that's actually going to come together. And that will require us to align. So before that, all of this that's playing out right now is to kind of help more to crystallize ourselves even more powerfully. So it is instrumental because it's going to continue going in. And for us right now, you have to understand, even when we're talking about politics, I'm not a politician into politics at all, I should say that, because I don't really pay attention to that. But what's happening right now is that you're going to see, you have the particular layout of what, the role players that are there right now, and you could see the other role players trying to get back control, in the United States, the Democrats and versus the Republicans and whatever else. But if you look at one side, you can see that in a way, what is being presented is it's being made so obvious to say, hey, guys, we really do not want to take over, but we're going to make it look that way as much as possible because we're not allowed.
So what you're saying is, and this makes a lot of sense because it applies to the global, the political, ethical, moral, all that stuff that's playing out, but also to what we talked about in the Lightworkers community. But it's like, and this is what I've been feeling, and I think I've been picking it up from other people as well, which is, you know what, I've had enough of that. It's like, it's being shown to us so we can actually, I guess in another way to put it would be to claim our sovereignty, even though I don't think that's like the direct message, but you just get tired of it. You just say, you know what, I'm done with that. So whether it's somebody you've been following who's attacking somebody in the Lightworker community, which, whatever, or if it's, the stuff that's going on, with the quarantine and if you're in Victoria, Australia with 300 deaths since the beginning of the year, and you've got the ironclad quarantine restrictions, or wherever it is, whatever's happening. And I've talked to people all over the world. I talked to a lady in Brazil a couple of days ago. She was on the show. This is happening everywhere. Everybody's being put into a place where you're going to choose yourself, basically.
Yeah.
And so I can see as you're explaining it, it's really taking a lot of the the charge out of it, because you can almost see us upstairs going, "Hey, let's make this almost stupid until we get it, and we can step into our sovereignty and step away from it and just say we're not gonna look that direction anymore. It's not even there." You know? Yeah. Good explanation. Thank you.
And the thing is, too, you'll notice that each area has different levels of what you can call lockdown or whatever it is. Now, you say, okay, well, like you were talking about Australia there. I mean, you're talking about, or even New Zealand, whatever, they're talking about very low numbers of cases and so forth. And that's where they have the most closed down. Well, the purpose of all of this, every area, I'm talking about any part of the world right now, depends on how hard people need to be pushed to finally say enough is enough, right?
Yeah.
We're not going to support this because we are not allowing this any longer. Now, I'm not talking about fighting. I'm not talking about resistance. We're talking about non-cooperation.
Yeah.
We are not supporting whatever the mandate may be. We're not supporting whatever idea people have. So it's a matter of getting into that empowered state because they're just playing the role that they're playing. Now, I'm going to share this. I take it with a grain of salt. And let's put it this way. With the U.S. stuff that's going on with regarding to the upcoming elections and so forth, the one side, and I won't say which one, and I'm sure you'll know, one side has been told at this point in time is that you're going to make it as stupid as possible because we want them to figure it out, but you're not allowed. And you have to act stupid because if you don't, then you'll have to deal with us. And let's put it this way. So this is why you can see the level of insanity. And you say, well, how could they make such choices? How could they even talk this way? How could they whatever? Because in fact, they're making it sure that it goes one way or another. Now, at the same time, the one that comes back I'm not going to say anything, as we already know, whatever it needs to play out, they're not the savior. Mm-hmm. And they're not here to say, okay, they're going to fix it. No, they're helping to dismantle certain parts of it. But you have to understand, I mean, people are putting a lot of energy and time into the person that is going to represent them and what their history was or whatever they are or how it's not about that. They're just playing a particular role to create whatever's necessary and change it. The true changers of our reality, the true redesigner is us.
Yeah.
It's never outside of us. And eventually, the whole point is the governmental stuff will be dismantled down the road. Will it last another 4 years? It's not intended to, because the thing is, it's not about creating a new government. It's really creating a team of, what's the word for it? A group that actually work together with humanity, like a council.
Yeah, like a council.
Yeah, that's
the right word. Yeah.
Create a council that will work together to look for the highest good for humanity. Now, here's the trick. It's not the highest good that we've been programmed to believe. It's not about, oh, we all have jobs, or we all have, we all have our toys, we all have this, or we have peace and whatever else. It's not about any of that. We're talking about organic 3D and organic 5D state, which means that we're going to create an environment that will nurture not only our body, our human entity, and our soul to go into its natural state. So that means a lot of the things that we've depended on or have believed as a way of life will dissolve also. So that's what the council is about, is just kind of help. Eventually the council is not even required in a sense, right?
I'm getting what you're saying. I've been getting this, and now you're verbalizing it. And two things. One is that, so let me just draw a picture. So both sides of any issue are going to crumble. So it's like, if you want to just use, and I'll be, I'll just use this as an example because I don't have an opinion, either Trump and Biden. Both sides are going to actually crumble. There'll be nothing to hold on to. And this goes back to what you were saying earlier. Everything that's there, you could say every belief system or whatever, anything you attach to, because that's what's required. This surrender, this type of surrender isn't about giving up. Oh, I give up, I'm going to surrender. This is about I surrender in pure faith, in the purity that exists on both sides of the spectrum. But so that's the one thing I've been getting. And I go back about 2 weeks ago. I hadn't talked to you, so I took a drive, and they came in and they showed me the realm's template of polarity, of extreme polarity. That's the words they use, extreme polarity. And they said, now you guys are walking out the door. You're in the stretch run, and you've created these overlays of more extreme polarities, throwing it on top of the extreme polarity template, so you can get the best opportunity to maximize your potential. So that was the one thing. And they told me, they said, and this was so profound, they said to me, you guys actually came here to create a higher truth, because the universe doesn't stand still. It's always moving. And so going into that unknown, into that darkness, into the womb of the holy darkness, the Holy Mother, going into that space where you don't know, and we've all been there, that's where it all happens. That's as Eric Rankin said the other day on the show, talking about binary, the one and the zero. He said, these are the two poles, and inside is a space of energy, like the space between breasts, where the friction is felt. This is God. He said, this part of it is actually God, the fluidity, the motion, the expansion. That's how new creations are created. This is what we do. Now, the second thing that you said that really has been coming home to me has been, nobody has a clue. Nobody has any conception of not only what it takes, although you can move toward it with feeling, that space in between that we were just talking about. You can kind of sense it and intuit it, but nobody really knows what that groove is. We're finding it together, creating it together. But the second part of it is, nobody has any idea how huge and how far out this experience is, what it's going to turn into, what our existence is going to be. And you're right. As I received it, it wasn't about everyone's going to have a job and everyone's going to have a house. And it wasn't like that. This was a consciousness. It was a consciousness. So it doesn't even matter what goes on out here with protests and marches and who gets elected and who doesn't, and masks and all that. It's actually a consciousness that's happening here on the individual level, when they say, you know what, I've had enough of that. I've had enough of that. I've had enough of that, until there's nothing left but ourself, and then some innate way, some natural instinctive way takes over. And I think the closest I can get to it, and this is just my experience, it doesn't mean it's gospel. The closest I can get to it, it's like a dream state. That we're entering a space, which I think many of us have touched on and experienced in a conscious awake state, in moments of awareness, where you're actually in a dream state, a dimensional dream state, by human terms, that doesn't subside very quickly, or that stays and sustains itself for longer and longer and longer periods of time. And I think once we get a taste of whatever that looks like, I think it's going to expand at a quantum level exponentially. And I really believe that we could see this huge abrupt change, 2021, when 2021 hits, or the winter solstice. Yeah,
and there's some of the indications that have come in that we're talking about, that this from now till the end of January, at this point in time, there's so much integration and so much changes that are going to take place at this point in time, to stage the stepping into the 2021, which is the next whole run that will be quite different than what we've run for 2020, because 2020 has been a very powerful year of discipline and internal guidance and so forth. Now, the thing that you had mentioned about not knowing, one of the key things we have to look at, the reason that all timelines have been eliminated, and basically we have one fluid timeline, and we have no future. There is no future outlined. It is not been planned. It's not in concrete in any way, shape, or form. There's an intention, but that intention is always expanding and shifting along the way. So what you received as the message is absolutely correct in the sense all it's about is expanding the consciousness and then designing based on that consciousness. And this is many levels of consciousness, because it's not only your individual consciousness, your collective consciousness, but it's also the consciousness of the different planets that are in our solar system, the consciousness of our quadrant of the galaxy that is very powerfully interconnected with us. All of these are coming together, kind of designing every stage of planet Earth. So even the energy of planet Earth itself, the playground and the so-called, because we're going into what we call an analog, which utilizes frequency and light rather than digitized, because the inverted matrix was digital. The organic matrix is analog. Okay? So there's a difference. Because, and when you were talking about dark and light, what is dark? I mean, dark is being in an unconscious state. The more you're unconscious, get this, the more you're unconscious, the less you are designing, and you allow whatever comes presented to you to design your life. For example, when you become conscious, you're less open to suggestions or a way of life. And this is where we're going right now. We're being offered all these opportunities to say, okay, you know something? Where we stand right now, we're going to design based on how we feel step by step our reality. It's not no longer, or not any longer, the way it was before. Where before, look at it this way, how people responded. People responded that whatever was being told to them, shared with them, taught them, whatever it was, were actually the shaping of individual lives, communities, and the collective. Where this change that we're going through is to disconnect us from that part of it, because basically we're adding more consciousness, and through consciousness, not only you're aware more of your sources, but you're also going into more of an analog state, and you're using more capacities to that, and you design everything brand new. Because every conversation I've had with my beings, you know, friends that, you know, time to time show up, like the ones that you have showing up for you, you know, every conversation we've had in the past, and even just recently, you know, they've been very clear that they don't have it mapped out. They said it very, okay, these are what we're working with, but we're working with you guys. We're not working for you guys, and we're not taking away anything. We're working with you guys, and we're only giving you bits and pieces, but you're the ones that are doing it. Now, like you said, there's many of us that have come onto the planet to really take an active role energetically, consciously, and also to help shape and redesign. And this is the key right now, is for us to also use our capacities of imagination. But I'm not talking about just imagination. I'm talking tapping into that source creative aspect of ourselves, so that there are no limits. Because, you know, most of us, you know, when we're going from manifest, you know, we want to manifest, we want to do most of that manifesting in what we call creation, to a lower degree of creation. We're just using what we have as a reference point because of experiences that have existed, and we're looking at the world and say, okay, I want more of that, or I want less of that. Well, that's the part that's also being purged out right now, is because now you're tapping into more creative, and you're going into the unknown creative. You're actually now tapping into, this is the beauty of it, more conscious that you have, you're bringing in experience, especially from a soul perspective. You're bringing experiences from other planets, you're bringing experience from different dimensions, you're bringing experience. But again, that is not to be used as the tools to shape it, or the belief, or the idea, or the concept, or the experience to design it. No, that's just kind of something that you can see are possible. But you're designing everything brand new. Everything is brand new. Like what we're doing right now, there's two things I want to mention. One is that we've never done this before, not in any other planets and none in any other dimension, going from this state to the state that we're projecting and moving towards in such a short period of time. This has never been done before in that way. So there's a lot of, experimentation that we are doing collectively. And most of us are unconscious, but some of us, like yourselves and whatever, and others out there, are seeing that way of understanding and so forth that is coming to play. So these are all part and parcel of what's really taking place at this point. Now, the other thing that I wanted to mention is that while we're doing what we're doing right at the moment, how can I say it? We've come here ready to activate any part of ourselves that we already tuned to be able to do that. For example, we have experiences. Now, the body itself has a tremendous amount of innate consciousness that it's actually expanding tremendously, but we haven't used much of it. So is the human entities with all its, but then we have the soul stuff that we brought from other dimensions. And we're all being tuned to play a particular role, and those alignments are perfect. But at the same time, right now, part of what's going on is turning people back on, turning it on in stages. Nobody gets turned on like this because it's too much of a shock, first of all, and then it can create more fragmentation. So we don't want to get that point. So this is why we're every advancement the body does, it shares it with the human entity and soul and mind. Every advancement the human entity does, the same thing through all the levels, and the same thing with the soul. So even the energies that are coming in right now, that have been coming in for quite some time, and now, if you've noticed, it's almost like there's no space in between now. There's not even a say, okay, yeah, take a breather, because it's one after the other. So it's not even, if somebody says, well, when's the next one? Well, there's lots of them, and they're coming on a constant basis. But
there's some something too I want to mention, and this is not about mask, everybody. This is an example of the potential or the possibilities in other aspects of our experience, primarily the physical. So with all this stuff happening, and there is nothing but that space that we're all being pushed towards, right? As this all has been playing out the way you've explained it, things letting go, things detaching, having enough of it, whatever it is. So there's this consciousness part that's coming into play. That's, not the protests, not the boycotts, not to go build bricks and mortar. It's just a consciousness which, like you said, creates these new choice points because you have higher levels of skills and abilities and so on. We go to Walmart. We live in a small town, so we have to go to Walmart a lot. And obviously it's a very powerful representation of what the realm is. Let's just put it that way. So they're very clear that, they've got someone standing in front and they have a mask on and they're standing behind a little fence and they're making sure everybody has one. So we went a couple days ago, and I have mine around my neck and I can just lift it up. It's like a sleeve. And Morgan has more of a traditional one. She kind of had it hanging down. So we walked in the store, and as soon as I walked in, and it wasn't out of defiance or anything, I saw one lady walking out as I was walking in who didn't have a mask on, and her little kid. Now, she probably had just taken it off as she was walking up the door. But at the same time, I put it on my face, and it just felt like somebody was, I just couldn't do it. So I just dropped it. And then, a couple, 3 or 4 minutes later, Morgan dropped hers because she saw I wasn't wearing one. Now, we went through the store, we went to several different departments, and we bought a few things for the house and such. And I kept looking for two things. I kept looking to see if anyone else didn't have it on, and if anyone was looking at us. And now, so we went to 3 or 4 different departments. We picked up what we needed. We went and stood in line in the self-checkout, which is like, 8 or 10 different stations. And no mask. And not until we were walking out the door did 2 ladies glance at us and kind of give us a face. Now, my point is, were we invisible? Was there some kind of shroud on us? Because I have to think that there is at least a potential, or strong possibility that some of this consciousness shift within individuals is going to start to materialize in what I'm alluding to. And I've heard a couple of other stories from other people where they've said something along the same lines. So I just want to throw that out there and ask you what your thoughts are on the potential, physical manifestation of this consciousness shifting, and a non-physical aspect of us taking on a physicality to include that type of thing, where we're literally walking in, I don't know, a different dimension. We're not seen. We're in the eat. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
No, absolutely. You said it right on the mark there. In regards to the fact that, that you have to understand, your frequency will differ what stage of frequency that the collective would be in, that, say, in the Walmart. So what happens is, if you're afraid to be spotted, then you're lowering your frequency so you can be easily saw. But if you're not paying attention to it and you're going into the game and playfulness of it, then your vibration is high, so you're invisible to them. You're not even noticed. And this has been going on for a long time. I'm talking about any part of the world or any part of our experience. But right now, and I've had the similar experience because I've walked into places, and I mean, I don't go out that often, but when I do go into places, I never put it on, and nobody even notices it, And a lot of times on the door it says, "No, you cannot enter without the mask," right? And and I don't go in there, "Oh my God, I'm going to be seen," or something like that. I don't even think about it. And it was interesting. Yesterday, I had to go get a part to see if I can get the internet working. Unfortunately, it didn't help much, but because I'm still waiting for more. I walked in there and I didn't even pay attention. I just walked in there. Everybody's in masks, and for some reason, I didn't even notice that part. And nobody said anything. And like you said, you can walk down, nobody notices it. Then if you keep focusing on the idea that, oh, this is interesting, I'm not getting spotted, whatever else. Sometimes you can lower the frequency to a certain degree where somebody will look at it, but they may not yell at you, because I've heard it from some people where they've walked in, even just having it slightly down, and they get yelled at, right? It's because they're at that frequency. So they're, in fact, it's not that they're not invisible, there's a spotlight on you, because you illuminate. Now it's like, I want to be seen. Because I still have worries, I still have fears, I still need whatever, right? Now, if you do run into a situation where, okay, no mask, you can't get in, the other thing you can do is just put it on, okay? You put it on, but see it as a game. It's not like, oh my God, I got to protect myself or anything like that, or I have to follow the rules. Just see it as a game. And when you're walking in as a game, like even Kimberly, I mean, she goes to stores where, you're not allowed to go in without it. So she puts it on, but she only puts it down there so her nose is completely exposed and she can breathe and whatever. Nobody says anything to her, right? Because she doesn't need to deal with that. But, she just goes in there because of that, and not to have any potential reactions or anything else. Nobody ever says anything. It's just have it below, right? Because it's just this idea. So it depends on where we are in our state. Yes, you can be invisible. Look at it this way, Todd. I'm sure you've met certain people, and they may not be so nice sometimes. They may play a polarized negative role, but they may be much more fierce with someone versus with you. Because you don't need the experience, because you're not going to put any focus on it that I need to be right or anything of that nature, and you're okay with whatever they say without, saying, oh, that's the right thing. You don't even have to say any of that. they don't communicate with you the same way. And I've seen this before. Like this goes back a little while ago, maybe it was near the end of last year. And I was walking into a store, a large store, and this guy was yelling at this lady and because of something she did. I don't know what it was. And here was the interesting part. She's like, this guy's like furious, like he's mad, right? And you can see him coming through the store, and then instantaneously he puts his focus he looks at me. Okay, he's in a rage. He just turned his eyes towards me and he looked at me for 1 second and he said, "Hi, brother." From a state of rage, yelling at some people, and one person in particular, this other lady, whatever, and I think she was working in the store or did something, whatever. He was from rage to looked at me for instant. Not that I changed them, it's just that I didn't need to have that interaction. So like that version of them, and all of a sudden he just looked at me and he says, "Hi, brother," that's it. And he walked away. He didn't yell anymore. Not that I did anything, it's just the fact that he no longer had to play a role with those people. And this is kind of representative of what we will experience. And we see this with family, we see it for our work environment, we'll see it in our, any interactions. And it's interesting because when, for example, I think I may have mentioned it in the story, but in one of our episodes of some time ago for us, one of your shows anyways, years ago, this goes back probably close to 2 decades ago, I had a course that I was doing and with some students and younger people. And so what we did is that we were teaching how people to connect with themselves, to increase their vibration, to step out of fear and all of that stuff. So what we ended up doing is that one of the exercises we did, we walked into what people would call a shady part of town at a certain time of the day when people were either drugged up or, playing that role anyways, or inebriated, right? And so we went with a small group down this street, this area, and, before we started, they said, "Okay, you guys just hold love in your body. We're just going to be in love and just see love everywhere around you, whatever it is." Believe it or not, we walked down that whole stretch of that neighborhood, that area, because it wasn't just, people's houses there. There was really some, bars and whatever else was going on. While we walked through all of that, people were fighting and they were, doing all types of things. And we were able to walk right through and not even seen at all. We were invisible to all of them. And I said, this is what we do. We only end up playing where we need to play. So be attentive to what your focus is in. If your focus is of fear, focus is that this is dangerous or anything of that nature, then you're going to be more in alignment or in that frequency where they will see you, and then the interaction will occur. Now, the other thing I wanted to mention about that is that, you're going to use your own inner sense, because sometimes our energy may not be welcomed in a certain area. So you respect that. You will feel it within yourself and say, "I'm not going down this whatever," because it is not in alignment. First of all, they don't want to be upset by your energy being where it is. And second of all, it's not something for you to do because it's not for you to test it. But in that particular application, I brought the students through that to show them how much power they actually had, and the fact that they were in charge of what they, how they interacted and so forth. Because a lot of people are afraid, I got to protect myself for this and that. You may not get involved in certain scenarios or whatever it is, but it's not about that. It's about really just being that state that you are, and what is only beneficial, either push your buttons or to support you in one way or another, will only be playing out, nothing more. This is the empowered part. We are, and some people talk about this free will, and I talked about it also. We do have free will. A lot of times it doesn't look that way because of the fact that we have one desire to experience something, and then we have some other stuff that supports something else, and then it looks like we're not getting into alignment with that. But we have free will on so many different levels. The body, the human entity, the soul, and so forth.
Yeah. Yes. This is really getting to a place where, which I guess fits because the end of the year is coming, 2021's coming. But to go from integration of the longest period, by the way, of the year of any one theme, 2.5 months, to go into what I think you're describing or I'm feeling, which is alignment. The integration sounds like a transitional period. Alignment or aligning or further aligning or whatever, that sounds more like a new, like a new existence, a new formation, a new being, a new experience. And that's very encouraging to me because, it's one thing to see the distortion on the global level. It's another thing to see the distortion in the community, the extremities of the distortion, which lends to something being very loud and obvious, and being able to go, I'm not going to participate in this. I'm not going to take this literally. I'm not going to develop a judgment or a prejudice or a bias towards this person and condemn them because I can see that it's just part of this whole game. And what you said at the top, we are making these things so stupid, cartoonish, that we're all going to have that aha moment, and so what happens then? Now we go, okay, well, all of these narratives have been shut down. All these belief systems have been shut down. I'm left with me. This is all I have. This is all I need. But what is that? And that is what to me is exciting, is to see these conscious, heartfelt intentions start to materialize, because that's what's happening. And as I told you before we came on, which we normally don't do that, but we were talking shop, and I was telling you that 3 days ago, the teams came in and told us in no uncertain terms that there are people out there building new higher dimensional overlays onto all the different templates out there, but this was specific to what we would call business or business enterprise, which is not the term that would be applied in, let's call it 5D or whatever you want to call it. But this is where the potential has already, or at least to me, they're telling me this, and I'm going, okay, that means it's already in motion. That means that consciousness that you were talking about has already begun to physicalize, and it's not like you get to a certain point, flip a switch, and then everything changes. No, this has been a gradual build up, like a snowball, and I think we're all going to start to see a larger and larger evidence, I guess, more and more evidence of the what we've been calling instant manifestation or manifestation in dream state. These things are happening, and it's exciting. It really is exciting. I'm happy to have survived this long, to be honest with you.
Well, you wouldn't miss the party at all. Come on,
I don't miss the
I
party.
mean, it's like, are you kidding me? I put all these years in just to leave when things are getting most exciting. No. We're here now. The one thing from now to the rest of the year, too, one of the mandates that, I shouldn't say mandates, probably not the best word to use, but one of the focuses is to really, and I know I alluded to it in our conversation in the beginning there, is to really pay attention to what we put our focus on, what we're using as resources to kind of govern how we feel and respond. Okay, some of it is going to come to us regardless, so it triggers and lets us clear stuff. But one of the things that has been indicated very clearly from my connections is that the next while, especially from the 17th on, is to really, really, really be in alignment in regards to creating a world creating a reality and a world within yourself and how you see the outside world that is not in any way governed by the game around us right now. So basically, one of the things that was said, if you want to move through this quickly and much more effectively and efficiently, don't focus on what could happen, what's happening, or what is the stage right now. You look at it and you say, this is the stage. Let me utilize it. And I'm now going to redesign my truest form of what I want to experience. So you bring that into play. So you're basically going from using a response mechanism of what you see to a creation mechanism of what you feel within. Now, I'm not talking about emotional feeling. I'm talking about source feeling, a knowing part of it. And allow that knowing to come through, because a lot of times what happens is that we are afraid of the knowing. Believe it or not, it may sound odd, but it isn't, because most people are afraid of knowing. Because what happens is, oh, let me just get this done. Let me get this done and whatever, and then I will do that. Well, that is a major distraction, and it runs for a very long time, and it doesn't always serve. So this is where it comes now. It's like, no, we're not allowing that, supporting that any longer to the same degree. We're going to move through it much more quickly regardless. So it's not about before. Okay. Sorry, I just want to make sure you're okay.
No, I was okay. I just got hit with something, but I'm okay.
Okay.
I'm with you on this.
Yeah, no problem. Because if I had to pause for a moment for you to take care of something, please go ahead. Don't let me.
Well, I'm just gonna have to check out here in about 4 or 5 minutes.
Okay. So we'll wrap it up very soon.
What you were saying, I was tagged to you, and I was keep going.
Okay. Yeah. So, anyways, the key here is really just to put it in a nutshell is now to connect with yourself and see the world that you want to experience and work with that within yourself.
Yes,
because the rest of it doesn't matter. What's the scape? Because people say, well, I want the world to change before I change. No, and it's not about changing. It's about you recreating yourself. This is the key here. Recreating yourself and your world based on using all aspects of input that is not reflective to what the world has to offer, because the world is still, you have to understand, it's still very inverted, and that's only assisting us to come through it. That's all.
Yeah, and it's really just like a residual play. It's just like, you threw a rock in a pond and the ripples are just going out. We're not, that whole thing with the consciousness transforming is having, as I was saying earlier, it's got traction, it's had traction, and now it's starting to actually materialize. That's something that we're not used to because it hadn't been part of our existence. So we're going to start to recognize it, become more and more familiar with it. And along the lines of what you were saying at the end there, as we were going through this, 10 days ago or whatever, she pulled down, it was a much more, comprehensive explanation, but the bottom line was, because I love simple things, it was, like, how do you see that? How can you tell the difference? And it came in as you're either in distraction or you're in creation. And that's it. So distraction would be engaging any of those, these pre-existing energetic frequencies or whatever you want to call it, patterns, engaging the egoic, engaging the 3D, responding or reacting, however you want to put it, or because it's an all or nothing proposition now. You can play back and forth like you've explained on these shows. You can go back and forth, but it just seems like your time is up. Time is ending, and you can jump on this side of the options anyway. And go into straight creation, which is what I'm seeing. And one of the places that I'm seeing that a lot is through young people. And I'm talking 20, 30 teens. They're just immersing themselves in a creative endeavor and initiative. And that just takes care of everything, because they don't even look the other way. They don't even You know, they're not even, like to your point, they're not even presented because that other energy can't even see them anymore. You know, so that's cool. Yeah. Yeah, this is cool. I had something come up and I'm going to have to check out.
Yeah, no
I
problem.
think we did okay. We're both kind of, you know, but I'll hit you up and real quick, I'm going to hit you up and yeah, and just, you know, put our heads together and maybe we can get back on. Well, spend a little more time talking than we did this morning. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's always, you know, Franco's my favorite. Well, what can I say? I tell this every time. Franco and Kimberly are doing great work. You know, I strongly suggest that, and I know people have because I've gotten quite a few messages, but let's support them. They've got a PayPal. They've got a YouTube. Support them with their energy, your love, contributions. We're getting there, and they've played a huge part in this. So thank you, Franco. Thank you, Kimberly. Thank you, everybody, for coming in. A couple of shows later today, but for right now, we'll see you later.
Okay. Take care.
Thank you, Franco. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Oh, let me go out with this, by the way. Let's go
Okay.
with this.
Allow yourself to be in the funk. Experience the funk. Be there in the funk. Acknowledge the funk. Thank the funk. Be there in the funk. Experience the funk. Acknowledge the funk. Thank the funk. It's like the energy doesn't create funkiness.